You know, spaghetti could be the default noodle for mac and cheese in a separate timeline. It's kind of fucked up. Dragon Age Veilguard is the most recent game to do the thing where every single companion has been made bisexual, right behind its beloved bear-fucking fantasy RPG brethren, Baldur's Gate 3. This is a sharp 180-degree turn from what the previous game, Dragon Age Inquisition, did, which was have a colorful cast of rainbows and plainbows, and a return to what the second Dragon Age game did, which is have every companion be fair game, no matter what your character looks like, in order to maximize player choice. This approach is called making companions playersexual.
Whoa, wow, damn, that's cool.
But Noah, you ask, where did you get that really cool sweater? That is something only subscribers know. But you also ask, what the hell's the difference? Why is one playersexual? Why is the other bisexual? They both mean have sex with everybody. They both mean some flavor of gay. What's the difference? Is there a difference? That, my dear viewer, is what I'm here to answer today. And before you start angrily typing in the comments at me, please come with me on this bisexual odyssey. As a bisexual person, I have my own complicated feelings about this situation, and I want to talk about them because there are two wolves inside of me whenever I hear the phrase, every companion is bisexual. The first wolf is a total gooner who just wants to romance and get down with literally everybody with basically no restrictions to get in my way at all. My character's pronouns in RPGs are quite frequently down bad and so lonely. The other wolf is honestly still a gooner, but has read Judith Butler and Simone de Beauvoir. De Beauvoir. It still wants to get the nut, but it also wants the intellectual nut. It doesn't really like the idea of the deeply complex and personality-defining concept of sexuality, bisexuality in this case, being reduced to a game mechanic to cater to the universal benefit of the player rather than being a defined character trait that influences their personality and preferences. Sexuality is one of the things that influences how we walk through the world and express ourselves, just like race, just like class, just like gender, just like disability, just like being a subscriber. Just saying that a character will have sex with anybody doesn't make them bisexual. Not all bisexuals want to have sex with everybody, because those people are prudes. Bisexuality is a complicated intertwining of nose rings, cuffed pants, stomach problems, and the inability to stand still. Just like everything else, it is a complicated mix of aesthetic signifiers mixed with cultural and linguistic identifiers. It's not just banging everybody, and whether game developers like it or not, the practice of making everybody bangable under the guise of bisexuality is frequently perceived as player sexuality, irregardless of their intention. I love Baldur's Gate 3. It's one of my favorite games with some of my favorite characters. But I don't see any of these characters as bisexual. And before any angry nitpicking people in the comments start typing things, I'm aware the creative director of Veilguard and the lead people at fucking Larian have said that everybody at Veilguard and Baldur's Gate 3 are pansexual / bisexual, whatever you want to call it. I know it, they said it, I believe it, I understand it. It's great that the developers have confirmed this verbally. But how many people will A, actually see that quote at all, and B, excluding that context, how many of them will actually see every single companion in your group this way? How many people will actually think of them as bi or pan characters and not just people who you can have sex with because the game wants you to be able to have sex with them no matter what? And most importantly, what exactly does it mean for the representation of everybody else? Think of our poor, banished gay and straight friends. I don't really care that much about the straights, to be honest, but the gay friends, they're the homies. In the case of the new Dragon Age, if the gays and the straights are not also part of this Veilguard vanguard, then we are losing a core part of the bisexual experience, which is bullying the straight people and bitching/hooking up with the gays. That is an important part of our culture, and I don't appreciate it being omitted. Me and my fellow bisexuals bully the token straight in our friend group all the time because that's what we do. Also, there's never any asexuals in groups like these, which really only confirms my theory that it's never really about romance and the many different ways it can be experienced in games like these, but really just about being able to have sex with everybody. But that isn't a conversation that I think we're ready to have yet. For realsies though, Veilguard is the second time in recent memory that I have seen this, and the cynic and annoyed fetishized bisexual inside of me still thinks this feels like a design decision to maximize player agency instead of writing characters with their sexuality being taken into account. Which, as I said before, is the opposite approach of the previous Dragon Age game. Veilguard has been in development hell for 10 years, just like Dragon Age 2, the game that also did player sexuality. To quote the lead writer on all of the Dragon Age games before Veilguard on this, we were working on far fewer resources compared to Dragon Age Origins. The whole game was going to be done within a year and a half, so when it came to how we were going to do the romances, it was really a matter of economy. We were going to have 4 romances. If we decided to make them sort of a spread of sexualities that are immutable, then there's no choice for the player. They have one character available to them, and we didn't like that idea. Dragon Age 2's development was absolutely fucked, and the team did the best that they could with the just disgustingly small amount of resources that they have. I do not fault them for this. However, the reason why Inquisition did not continue this player sexuality approach is because they did not like how it made the companions feel. They didn't like how it framed the characters. To quote David Yater, again, we didn't like how player sexuality made the characters feel like they existed in service of the player, like they were there in the game to be a toy. We felt like that wasn't why those characters existed. That wasn't the kind of game we were making. These characters were characters first, and they had their own stories, and the player could interact with them, but it wasn't always about the player. You could feel the difference in character quality from Dragon Age 2 to Inquisition. These felt like real, realized people, and Iron Bull was a fantastic bisexual representation. He bullied the straights, and he bitched with/hooked up with the gays. Bisexual experience! Romance, or sex, realistically, in basically all games is largely framed in these toy-like terms, even outside of the idea of player sexuality. Bangable NPCs exist in service of the player as objects, as simple toys, with sex being something that you can quite simply extract through a predictable set of actions, like highlighted dialogue choices or giving people gifts and compliments until you get married. God bless you, Fable. And within this lackluster framework, gay shit has basically always gotten the short end of the stick. Quite frequently, it's just not included because nobody thought of it or wanted it. It is planned by some people, but then forcefully removed from the developments by higher-ups. Jack from Mass Effect 2 was taken to metaphorical conversion camp. She was supposed to be bisexual until some fucking higher-up wanted the game to be more traditional, even though this is literally the most bisexual looking ass character that has ever fucking existed, okay? I will never get over this. Or queerness is just used as mechanical convenience without really any kind of context whenever the player needs a little bit of extra agency thrown their way. Us gays are finally starting to really eat after all of these years, with so many beautiful, well-written games handling things super, super well. But let's not pretend that things are perfect, okay? I am going to get shit for this opinion. But along with Veilguard, I think Baldur's Gate 3 saying everybody is bisexual feels a little hollow. There is so much care put into every single aspect of these companions except more defined sexualities. And I think that that doesn't bother people as much because there is so much fucking content in this goddamn video game And let's be real here, a lot of us bis are absolutely scrambling, thirsting for representation. Every character is so unbelievably well written, so beautifully told from beginning to end. But besides a few lines of same-sex stuff in the past, there really isn't anything there. It just feels kind of like a lost opportunity to really flesh out that side of the character. Even other sides of the character that might be able to be tied to some meaningful restriction. So it feels like player agency isn't the absolute be-all and end-all. For example, Minithara is the CEO of racism. She should have race restrictions for romance. I think she should be able to, like, you know, hate fuck anybody she kind of wants to, but for actual romance, I like that they made Solus only romanceable to female elves in Dragon Age Inquisition. I thought that was a neat touch, and it felt like Madam Hate Crime over here is a perfect candidate for that, and a missed opportunity. Characters should be able to turn you down for reasons unrelated to you doing a genocide. I think it is an excellent nuance in character writing that Sarah and Dorian can turn you down for not being the gender that they are attracted to. That makes them feel more like real people. You can't get with anybody in real life because some people simply will not be attracted to you. And I think that's good. I think that is an important bit of realism of a character that distinguishes them as somebody who is an object versus a person with their own intrinsic sense of values. And because I can hear people getting mad about stereotyping and whatever, let's not pretend that queer coding or making someone appear as though they are part of a group is by default a bad thing. Queer coding and having various ways of signaling to people that you are a part of a group, queer or otherwise, has been around for literally ever. I mean, shit, lesbians in the 20s used to wear monocles to signify that they were lesbians. Look at this group of bad bitches, they look swag as hell. We live in a society, and that society is composed of countless subcultures overlapping with each other through the individuals that occupy those spaces. We indicate that we are part of these various groups through various aesthetic and performative choices. But how we as individuals express ourselves creates that variance within said groups. We make conscious choices how we appear or how we do not want to appear. I know so many straight people out there have said, oh, I don't want to wear that shirt. That looks gay. I don't want to look gay. Boom. Bitch, you're doing it. You did it. A gay person will look at that same shirt and be like, damn, that shirt's gay as fuck. I want to wear that. This is just how groups work. This is the same thing for the goths, for the tech bros, for the butch lesbians, for the e-girls, to the incels, to the preppers, to the bisexuals. Everybody is trying to look a certain way to fit within a group. Stop trying to be a unique, special little snowflake. Be part of humanity by engaging with people and groups to enrich your life and to share your experiences and your aesthetic preferences to enrich each other. Stop being weird. This is a picture of me trying to hold in a shit after sitting at a career panel for a local high school. And after this, a little baby gay came up to me and said, "You're a he, they, aren't you?" That's awesome. People being able to see themselves, traits that they express or want to express in a thing everywhere is important. It makes them feel seen and like they can belong, and their experiences are valid in games, in real life, everywhere. So please stop being weird about this. And oftentimes those experiences that are unique to specific cultures and groups of people can be given to characters and give them that unique depth. They can be leveraged for plot elements that can only work because a specific character has that specific culture, that specific orientation, that specific experience. That is what gives nuance. Dorian, the mage from Dragon Age Inquisition, is gay as fuck. And part of his storyline is related to how his parents basically tried to send him to magical conversion camp for arranged marriage purposes. Dorian's story could not be told if he was in a game where player sexuality was the rule of the day. When I say it opens up different types of stories, Dorian is the best example, because his story is about being homosexual, and that doesn't work in any other context. So that was very special. It meant a lot to me as a gay man that I had this opportunity. That was David Gator again, the writer for all of the Dragon Age games. A gay guy. And he wanted to do this because it directly related to his culture, and it is a deeply important thing to talk about and to acknowledge, particularly since many gay people are still plagued by this, with over 1,300 practitioners today still doing conversion therapy in America. This was a defining thing for a character that could literally only work because of his sexuality, and that is what made it so harrowing and amazing to be seen included in this way. But let's not pretend that queer trauma is the only fucking thing that us people have, even though, let's be honest, it's a lot of it. Judy Alvarez from Cyberpunk 2077 is a wonderful character for the gays out there, specifically the lesbians, you lucky dogs. Honestly, she's probably one of my favorite characters in like the whole game, if not kind of forever. Like, she's just awesome. How she dresses, her mannerisms, even how aggressively she sits. I've seen queer women online and friends of mine also say that she is one of the best representations of a gay woman that they've like ever seen. And the voice actress says the same thing. She really loves the character. She's gotten messages from people who have been like, thank you for portraying this character. She was amazing. I felt seen. God bless. That's so nice. When somebody is also like this, you can have cute little moments or inside jokes that can only exist because somebody is a specific way that they are. Like the very cute U-Haul lesbian reference at the end of her last story mission literally cannot exist without her being gay.
All set. Congrats. Just gave you unlimited access to my pad.
Whoa. Asking me to move in?
If it's what you want. Or just drop by when the urge grabs you.
It's like that joke. Another one?
No.
What do lesbians bring on their second date? Moving vans. Both.
Side note, weird, gross, homophobic, entitled losers modding Judy to be romanceable, bangable by men really goes to prove my previous point about the expectation for game characters, specifically women game characters, to be sex objects for men, alongside wanting either to remove queer shit altogether or to conveniently use bisexuality. These are the same weird, gross losers who complain about women not being hot enough in any game, regardless of context. Please go to therapy. Bisexuality is filled with just as much nuance and variety of experiences as all of my previous examples. And I have seen this articulated even less frequently than the gays in the gaming space. Again, us bis are real desperate, so forgive me, dear Dragon Age Veilguard team, who has been going through development hell and rebooted the game 4 years ago, if I am not particularly inclined to take the claim that all characters are pansexual in good faith. If I have skepticism as to the authentic representation that will occur when it's only bisexual people interacting with each other with no variance within the group, I would love to be proven wrong about this. I'm going to play the game when it comes out, after I finish Metaphor ReFantazio, and then Neva, and then Slay the Princess. God, there's so many fucking games I need to play. I know I've ragged on this for a while, but it's not all bad. This isn't all bad just doing this. This isn't me just being personally unsatisfied with this bisexuality thing, okay? There are good things that come out of having these options for people, you know? Games are a medium in which people have for years, safely explored their own genders and sexualities and orientations through these digital landscapes. The people who made Boyfriend Dungeon specifically made their game in mind with that ethos. We get a lot of people who come into our Discord and say that Boyfriend Dungeon helped them discover something about their own sexuality. It's been dozens of people who have come forward and said this. So I assume that there's others who've never said anything, and I think that's because it's so permissive, it really is up to you. It puts emphasis on the player's intrinsic motivations of what do you actually want. And for people who aren't really sure, that can be really powerful because they realize what they want and why they want that. I think that's really cool. God knows I've used games as a medium to safely explore my own inner and outer workings. And then of course a less pessimistic version of the whole everyone's bisexual, everybody's player sexual thing is that the player can just kind of have their own headcanon. Certain characters can be gay to some people depending on what their current character is doing. Certain characters can be straight, certain characters can be bi. They have the ability to engage in that flexibility depending on who they are and what representation that they would like to see. As long as they're not being weird homophobic losers. A lot of this, of course, depends on how good the writing of the game actually is, but because Baldur's Gate 3 is fucking incredible, I can have my headcanon of sweet, straight, autistic Gale and big, gay cinnamon roll Karlach, and that works for my headcanon. No harm, no foul. And that feels authentic. That feels like it's working for the characters that I am role-playing in the game during my playthroughs, desperately seeking validation from them. If someone can engage with a game that gives you that agency and mold it in a way that fits to their preferences, to fit the inclusion that they would like when they are an underrepresented group, that's very cool. And I like that. And I think it's cool that we're moving towards a lot of more like neutral language that can be more inclusive of other people with who knows what they got where and how or if they want to use it. You know, that is objectively good that we are doing that. However, we can't do it too much or else, you know, gamers' brains will melt down, but who fucking gives a shit about them? At the end of the day, for me, it really comes down to the writing, to the story, to the characters, to the game experience as a whole, and how much player agency is chosen over what feels authentic to the character. I love character-first games. It's my favorite kind of games to play. I absolutely despise the player-first approach in so many experiences. I do not want to be treated like a stupid, dumb little baby for the sake of more choice or, more frequently, the illusion of choice. I am a big, smart boy who deserves to be treated as such, with authentic characters and decisions that matter and make me feel like I am interacting with a person and not a bangable dialogue chain. I should be allowed to get denied, not because I fucking kill an entire grove of people, although that should also be something I get disowned for, but I should also be able to get turned down simply because I am not what this person likes. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. I should be able to get turned down because I'm not a giga racist. That's also fine. I'm sure you've noticed that my feelings on this are complicated and messy because of my own experiences as a bisexual person, as a long-time video game player. There is no necessarily correct answer for everything. I do not know what that is. I am not claiming to know what that is. I am just saying how I do not feel completely acknowledged with the decision of making literally everybody in your camp by default a bisexual without really kind of going the lengths of feeling like that is something that the characters are. To be completely honest, this probably wouldn't be such a big deal to me if I could think of like any other really well fleshed out, really well made bisexual characters that have those intimate experiences like Dorian, like Judy, that have some of those really well-defined traits that mix with their sexuality being an important part of their character on top of everything else. But I don't really see that. I really don't. And to reiterate, I believe that the developers made these characters to be bisexual. All of them. 100%. I'm just saying, to me, as a bisexual person, given the landscape of how video games have treated romance in general and bisexuality in general, it doesn't really feel like they put that much thought in it. And I'm prepared to be wrong about Veilguard. There could be a bunch of nuanced, uniquely bisexual experiences in that game. I guess we'll fucking see. I'm just saying, it's kind of suspicious if everyone's bisexual. The cynic in me just can't get over it feel like a player agency thing. I understand that characters don't need to scream bisexuality from the rooftops, but again, the player agency thing, real convenient. Please tell me in the comments about how dumb and stupid and wrong and doing a bi erasure that I am. Please give me the engagement, but if you don't want to say that, like, I'd love to hear the experience or the thoughts of the gays or the straights, and particularly the bis, on how they feel about the quite frequent blanket bisexuality tag that's kind of used for the sake of player agency or not. Like, I don't know. We bis are messy. There's probably going to be a lot of people who are mad at me. That's part of the bisexual experience, is having people mad at you for saying dumb shit. But yeah, I've been holding my Dragon Age Inquisition mug like the whole time, by the way. I'm very color coordinated today. Got the sweater, got the mug, you know, putting up more of my cool art in the background, the little fucking black whiteness over there. Damn, we're fucking coming together. Thank you for watching. I hope I made any amount of sense to anybody who isn't me. Thank you.